Next on the agenda was a panel discussion on financial inclusion, moderated by Raghuveer Srinivasan, Associate Editor of the Business Line.
It's time to get down to business again, and this promises to be another interesting session for you on financial inclusion.
Rahul Gangal, partner at Roland Berger, talked about the Jan Dhan Yojana and the objectives and aims of this ambitious new scheme from the new government.
So what's the objective of this entire exercise? The objective is, one, improve credit delivery, improve ability to understand what financial access people have. And the second is to be able to do that at a manageable cost. We're looking at financial inclusion and financial literacy from those perspectives. From an aspect of access, the kind of people who have access to it, rural, urban poor. Are you covering geographically all elements of the space? Are you covering vertically by including what was traditionally a very nice form of chit funds but is not used well enough by banks? Are you building all those tools into your system to ensure that literacy about financial inclusion is passed through?
I just want to say that
Chetna Sinha, founder and chair of the Mandeshi Mahila Bank, spoke next on her bank's incredible journey to get a banking license, even when its promoters were themselves illiterate.
When we applied for the banking license, majority of our women had a thumb impression. On that ground, Reserve Bank of India rejected the license, saying that how can we issue a license to the bank whose promoting members are non-literate? I came back from Mumbai, I was nervous. I told women. They were not nervous. They said, so what? We'll learn to read and write and apply again. And we went again. You know, it is just humbling. I had no idea, but next time when we went, I didn't go alone. Women came with me, and we had 15 women. We had a discussion with officer, and they said, you rejected the license because we are non-literate. Tell us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. If we fail, don't issue the license. Tell your officers to do it without calculator. So I would like to say that this was a learning for me, and I realized that was my first financial literacy for me, not for people, because they know very well. And learning was that in spite if people are non-literate, that doesn't mean they cannot manage finance. They can. So that's how Mandeshi Mahila Bank started. It is absolutely critical.
Naina Lal Kidwai of HSBC was next, talking passionately about making financial inclusion work and how the government needs to step up its efforts when it comes to pushing direct benefits.
I would say it is absolutely critical that we make it work. And the only way it will work now is government has to push its direct benefit transfers through the system. So it's fabulous. Accounts are now opened. Aadhaar card has been fully accepted despite all the issues that it went through, unfortunately, for a while. And hats off to this Prime Minister that he didn't throw it out the window. He brought it right back. And using the Aadhaar card, using the direct benefit transfer system where we can put money through those bank accounts, that's where it will begin to work. Because the cost to a bank to maintain an account where there is no money and no transaction is very high. So we have to make this work, and I think we are at that point in our history where a push in the right direction will take us forward. If we don't get this right, we will have to end up closing a lot of these accounts, which would be quite unfortunate. And then let me just also talk about microfinance, which is very, very critical, very close to my heart. But I have seen the boom and bust of microfinance because the business model is about making profit. So what is the right price to charge becomes very important. And we saw how a rapacious rate, however you define it, in our case, as in India's case, it was 45–50%, caused its own backlash. And we had politicians shouting from pulpits, please don't repay the microfinance institutions. And microfinance almost died in this country. I'm really glad it's back. The model that's back is a very robust self-help group model. But the fact is that we have to have a model which is socially relevant even while it seeks to be a business model.
Anil Sinha of IFC talked about impact investing, a practice that aims to improve the social and environmental scenario without sacrificing returns.
What is impact investing? Impact investing is to make a social and environment impact along with a financial return. The characteristics are that there must be intentionality. Intentionality to make that social and environment impact. That's first, and then looking at the financial returns alongside it. Those financial returns can be simply getting your money back to making a risk-adjusted return. It could be different assets. But the other characteristic, and this is what's related to shared value, is measuring the impact. And you need to understand, and unless you're empathetic, and unless you're assimilating, you won't get the business model right. And secondly is patience. The big change will come in India when we get the main financial institutions involved, as well as high net individuals involved in investing out of their Indian funds. And I think that's the big change that I want to see if impact investing has come down to India.
Rajat Kathuria, Director and CEO of ICREER, was next, elucidating on how technology and easing regulations can positively impact financial inclusion in India.
Using technology, using mobile phones, and also kind of easing regulation to allow multiple participants to come into this space. So besides banks, we know physical bank location in rural areas is not worth it. It hasn't worked since independence. It's not going to work now. So we need that kind of technology and mobile push. And there has been, after a considerable amount of time, some amount of, I think, easing of the regulation in allowing business correspondence. And it will happen in steps. RBI is very cautious in terms of liberalizing in this area because of well-known reasons, because you're dealing with, money, and you're dealing with money of people at the bottom of the pyramid. So you have to be doubly careful. But there has been easing of regulation in this space. There are payment banks that are going to come in. There are small banks that are going to come in as well. MFIs are trying to kind of reinvent themselves. Post offices have applied to become payments banks. And, 1 billion people have access to, well, if not a billion people, at least 70% of the people in India have access to mobile phones. And so the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile trinity is the way to go, I think, if one has to achieve financial inclusion. Of course, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We'll know what the status of financial inclusion is in a few years from now. But I think there are reasons to be optimistic.